The hip-hop world is in turmoil, folks. It's 2024, and some of the biggest names in the game are facing serious heat from the law. I've seen my fair share of courtrooms, and let me tell you, what's happening now is something else entirely. From Rico cases to allegations that'll make your skin crawl, the legal system is clamping down on hip-hop like never before. We're talking about a perfect storm where lyrics, lifestyle, and the long arm of the law are colliding in ways that'll shape the industry for years to come. You know, standing at the crossroads of art and crime, I can't help but see shades of my own past. It's a complex world where expression and accusation blur, and trust me, I've walked that line. Today, we're diving deep into the cases that are redefining what it means to be a hip-hop artist in the eyes of the law. Buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride. Now, let's dive into one of the most talked about cases in hip-hop right now, Young Thug and the YSL Rico case. This one's a real doozy, folks. Young Thug, whose real name is Jeffrey Williams, is facing some serious allegations. The authorities claim that his label, Young Slime Life or YSL, isn't just about making music. They're saying it's a full-blown criminal gang. You know, I've seen how groups can form and evolve, both inside and outside the system. It's never as simple as it looks from the outside. The prosecution is painting YSL as this organized crime outfit, involved in everything from violent crimes to drug distribution. But here's where it gets tricky. They're using Young Thug's own lyrics as evidence against him. Now, I've always believed that art is a reflection of life, but should it be used to convict someone? It's a fine line between expression and confession. The prosecutors are combing through text messages, social media posts, and yes, even song lyrics, trying to build their case. This trial has been dragging on since 2023, with over 400 witnesses lined up. That's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of stories to untangle. It reminds me of the complex web of relationships and loyalties I've observed over the years. In cases like these, the truth is rarely black and white. The use of rap lyrics in court, that's a whole other can of worms. It's got people asking some big questions about artistic freedom and racial bias in the justice system. I've seen firsthand how the system can misinterpret or misuse information. It makes you wonder, are we criminalizing art, or is this a necessary tool for justice? Now, let's turn our attention to a case that sent shockwaves through the music industry. Sean Diddy Combs, a titan in hip-hop, is facing a storm of allegations that's left many of us reeling. We're talking about accusations of sex trafficking and racketeering, charges that could potentially end in life imprisonment if proven true. The sheer scale of this case is staggering. Over 120 accusers have come forward, painting a picture of abuse spanning decades. It's a web of allegations so intricate and far-reaching, it's hard to wrap your head around. You know, seeing someone at the top fall from such heights, it really makes you think about the nature of power and influence. I've seen firsthand how power can corrupt, how it can twist relationships and blur the lines between right and wrong. What's particularly chilling about Diddy's case is how it allegedly involves a systematic abuse of trust. In my experience, trust is a fragile thing, easily broken and hard to rebuild. And when the trust is betrayed by someone in a position of authority or influence, the damage can be devastating. As this case unfolds, it's going to force us to confront some uncomfortable truths about the industry and ourselves. How do we reconcile the art we love with the alleged actions of its creators? It's a question that doesn't have easy answers, but it's one we need to grapple with. The impact of these allegations, if proven true, will ripple far beyond Diddy himself. It could reshape how we view power structures in the music industry and potentially lead to significant changes in how the business operates. Now, let's turn our attention to a case that's been gripping the headlines: the upcoming retrial of YNW Melly. This young rapper is facing charges for allegedly killing two of his close friends back in 2018. It's a case that's got everyone talking, and for good reason. I've seen firsthand how quickly friendships can turn toxic in high-pressure environments. When you're caught up in that world, lines blur, and loyalty can become a dangerous game. Melly's case is a stark reminder of how fragile those bonds can be. The media frenzy surrounding this trial is intense. Every detail, every piece of evidence is being scrutinized under the public eye. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it ensures transparency, but on the other, it can make getting a fair trial nearly impossible. I remember how it felt to have my own life dissected in the press. It's like living in a fishbowl where every move you make is analyzed and often misinterpreted. For Melly, this scrutiny could make or break his case. The retrial, set for 2025, will be a test of our justice system. Can a high-profile defendant like Melly get a fair shake when public opinion is already so divided? It's a question that keeps me up at night, knowing how thin the line between justice and spectacle can be. Now, let's dive into one of the most contentious issues surrounding these cases: the use of rap lyrics as evidence in court. It's a practice that's raised eyebrows and sparked heated debates across the industry. And trust me, it's a complex issue that hits close to home for many. The controversy centers around prosecutors using an artist's own words against him, treating creative expressions as literal admissions of guilt. It's a tactic that's been particularly prevalent in hip-hop cases, raising questions about racial bias and the criminalization of art. In response, we're seeing a push for change. The RAP Act, or Restoring Artistic Protection Act, has been introduced to limit the use of lyrics as evidence in federal cases. It's a move that many in the industry see as long overdue. But here's the thing: this isn't just about protecting artists. It's about preserving the very essence of creative expression. Having spent time on both sides of the law, I've seen firsthand how words can be twisted and misinterpreted. It's a reminder that context is everything, especially when it comes to art. The industry's response goes beyond legislation. We're seeing record labels, civil rights organizations, and legal funds stepping up to support artists facing these challenges. It's a united front against what many view as an attack on hip-hop culture itself. As we navigate this legal minefield, one thing's clear: the outcome of these cases could shape the future of hip-hop and its relationship with the justice system for years to come. It's a stark reminder of the power of words, both in art and in law. As we wrap up today's episode, I can't help but reflect on the profound implications these cases have on hip-hop culture and social mobility. The courtroom battles we've discussed aren't just about individual artists, they're shaping the very landscape of artistic expression and justice in our society. Think about it. Hip-hop has long been a pathway for voices from marginalized communities to be heard, to gain influence, and yes, to achieve financial success. But now, we're seeing how quickly that path can be blocked by legal entanglements that blur the lines between art and reality. I've seen firsthand how the system can misinterpret and weaponize someone's background or artistic expression. It's a delicate balance. We need accountability, sure, but at what cost to creativity and cultural commentary? I want you to consider this: how do we protect the raw, unfiltered voice of hip-hop while ensuring justice is served? It's not an easy question, and trust me, I've spent years grappling with similar dilemmas. As we move forward, let's keep this conversation going. Share your thoughts on social media. Do you think the legal system understands hip-hop culture? Can art and accountability coexist in the courtroom? Remember, the future of hip-hop, and perhaps of justice itself, may depend on how we answer these questions. Until next time, keep questioning, keep listening, and above all, stay real.
Hey listeners, welcome back to The Real Crime Diary. I'm your host, Sean Dupree. If you tuned in last time, we had a deep dive into the disturbing history of power abuse across different eras, looking at the connection between dominance, control, and how it plays out even today. We touched on scandals from the past and compared them with some modern-day examples, showing how these patterns of abuse, unfortunately, persist. One of the most insightful tools we've explored to understand this is my book, Power, Pleasure, and Pain, a study of abuse through time. It's not just a historical account, but an interdisciplinary approach to understanding why this keeps happening. We draw from history, philosophy, and modern case studies to explain how figures like Dominique Pellico, Harvey Weinstein, and others have exploited their positions of power for their own gain, often protected by the very systems meant to stop them. Recap of last interaction. In our last live stream, we discussed how libertinism, philosophically introduced by figures like Marquis de Sade, has shaped the way power and pleasure have been entangled throughout history. This concept ties directly into how figures like Weinstein operated, as we saw parallels between de Sade's fictional characters and the way powerful men manipulated their victims in real life. You guys had some amazing comments, asking how societal structures have allowed these behaviors to go unchecked for so long. It's a crucial question, and one that the book addresses deeply. Why this book is valuable. Now, what's powerful about Power, Pleasure, and Pain is its ability to break down these historical patterns and link them to the present. You're not just reading about ancient Rome or Enlightenment philosophy, you're seeing how these ideologies are alive today. The book uncovers how sexual violence and control have been systematically woven into the fabric of societies from ancient times right up to the modern era. It's about understanding not just the individual predators, but the systems that protect them, whether it's in royal courts, religious institutions, or today's corporate and entertainment worlds. Through these historical lenses, we also explore movements like #MeToo that are beginning to dismantle these structures. The fight for justice is far from over, but as the book demonstrates, we are in the midst of a cultural shift where legal reforms are finally addressing these long-standing issues. It's more than a history lesson. It's a guide to understanding and supporting change today. What's next? If you want to dive deeper, I suggest picking up Power, Pleasure, and Pain, a study of abuse through time. It's available now, and trust me, it will change the way you think about power, pleasure, and control. We've even got some exclusive content coming up on the channel where we'll be exploring the book's case studies in even more detail, so stay tuned for that. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to The Real Crime Diary so you don't miss any updates. Let's keep this conversation going, because understanding the past is key to changing the future.